This is the story of the life of Brigid Collins, a remarkable human being who lived a remarkable life. Brigid was a Catholic nun who passed from this life in 1990, 21 years ago. She left a legacy of social work and human caring that lives on in the work of three great Bellingham institutions: St. Joseph's Hospital, Watcom Hospice, and Brigid Collins Family Services. Her spirit of love for humankind can still be felt in this community and in these institutions. The Brigid Collins story is also the story of the Sisters of St. Joseph of Peace, the religious order that first called her to her life mission and then shaped and guided her. Now we must go back in time once again to County Galway, where on a farm near Tom, on the 25th of March, 1918, a daughter was born to John and Mary Mockler Collins. The tiny girl would be christened Brigid, and she would be the fourth of 8 children born into this family. She was born in this farmhouse, shown in a 1942 photograph. The couple standing before the house in their Sunday best are neighbors, Tom and Mary Kate Dunn, lifelong friends of the Collins family. The Collins were a hard-working family. Constant laughter echoed within those old walls, but they also knew tragedy and sorrow. Their firstborn, Michael, died at the age of 3 when his clothing accidentally caught fire. The next son, John Jr., also at age 3, fell down the stairs and suffered a deforming spinal injury. The third son, Patty, and each of the 5 daughters, Anne, Bridget, Noreen, and the twins, Roberta and Sheila, were to live long and productive lives. Brigid Collins would grow and thrive on that Galway farm in the warmth of her caring and loving family. Their farm raised potatoes, cattle, and sheep.
Yeah, those are hard times in Ireland. And that, I think, was a little push to get they were a little push to go and be nuns. That was a big thing if they couldn't go anywhere else. And at those days, there wouldn't be any money to send them to schools, or universities. So this is the way out.
When Brigid came of age in 1935, she heeded the call to devote her life to her religious faith. She chose the Sisters of St. Joseph of Peace to guide her in her training and eventually to join their order as a nun. Brigid was accepted at the Cabra Novitiate near the town of Newry in County Down. There she would meet other postulants who would become her classmates for the next 6 months, and at least in one case, Ellen Caldwell would become her dear friend and companion for the remainder of her life. 6 girls entered in her class at Cabra, where they received religious training. Then all 6 were notified they were to be sent across the ocean to America to complete their training. 6 girls ranging in age from 15 to 24. They'd all left home for the first time. Now they'd been chosen to cross the seas to a new land to become brides of Christ. Their destination would be the novitiate at the convent of St. Michael's in New Jersey. The convent sent Reverend Mother Agatha to Ireland to prepare the girls for the trip and to accompany them on the voyage. It was the 28th of March of 1936. Brigid had just turned 18 when she and her 5 classmates boarded their ship and set sail for America. They sailed on the United States Line's SS American Importer. The ship's manifest shows the 6 young women and describes them as religious postulants. First listed is Brigid Collins, misspelled Bridget, Bridigget, in the English way. Then Margaret Keveney, only 15. Then Ellen Caldwell, age 18. Marguerite McManus, the oldest, at age 24. Bridget O'Neill, another clerical error. Her true name was Monica O'Neill. Monica was 18, and lastly, a 21-year-old postulant listed as Ellen Kenny. Her name was really Helen Kenny. The girls were assigned cabins just below the main deck, to a cabin with sleeping bunks one above the other. Sister Ellen Caldwell, now 92, recalls their trip. An exciting and frightening experience.
It was.
Were you both frightened and excited?
Yeah, and lonely.
And lonely, yeah.
We were all very lonely.
On April 6th, 1936, they arrived in New York Harbor after 8 days at sea and were delivered to the St. Michael's Convent by Sister Agatha. Several weeks later, 3 of the young women were selected to follow those pioneering footsteps of Sisters Teresa and Stanislaus back in 1890. Monica O'Neill, Ellen Caldwell, and Brigid Collins were put on a train for the West, assigned to St. Mary's Novitiate at St. Joseph's Hospital in Bellingham, Washington. Upon their arrival at the Bellingham station, they were shown to their new home in the St. Joseph's Hospital that had been built in 1901. The nuns were quartered in the southern end of the dormered 4th floor, where they had a perfect view of the lumber mills and sailing ships on the bay before them. Their classes were held on the ground floor of the hospital, where they lived and studied for the required 2-year period. Finally, they graduated as novices, now members of the order who have not yet made their final vows. Brigid adopted the religious name of Sister Frances Xavier. The novices were sent to other schools for advanced training. Brigid and Monica entered the School of Nursing at the Bellingham Hospital.
And Bridget was in training with the same group that Dorothy was with. Now of course, her name was Sister Frances Xavier then, but the girls, they called her Frankie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Meixner continues, saying that Brigid was fun-loving and didn't insist on the formality that her position might require. A naturally gregarious and unpretentious person, Frankie was, of course, a diminution of Frances Xavier. Brigid took her final vows in 1941 and began her health career at St. Joseph's. By 1943, she was the nursing supervisor for pediatrics, and then in 1944, she was transferred to St. John's Hospital in Longview as night nursing supervisor. Her love of children and newborns may have been responsible for her appointment as obstetrics supervisor 2 years later. In 1957, at the age of 39, she was transferred to Wenatchee, Washington, to become the administrator of St. Anthony's Hospital, a position that she would hold for 3 years. She must have distinguished herself there, for in 1960 she was returned to Bellingham in what was to be a crucial leadership role, administrator of St. Joseph's Hospital at a critical time in the history of the institution. The now much expanded hospital had become overcrowded and in need of modernization. With no room to expand on State Street and working with a governing board led by Al Levin and other prominent Bellingham and professional people, business and professional people, the sisters made a much maligned and ridiculed decision. They purchased a large tract of land at the northern edge of Bellingham's city limits, accessed by Ellis Street. Many in the community thought it was a grievous error. Brigid's role in the crucial decision to buy the land is a bit unclear. Many credit the decision to her, some to her predecessor. What is sure is that she became the administrator in time to help plan and construct the new modern hospital that would go up on the site. Here she shows Mayor John Westford, Al Levin, Carl Oberleitner, Bill Herb, Carl Roll, Ben Seifert, Joe Kindle, and others, the new operating room in the new hotel. The move was finally completed in 1967. Brigid remained in the administrator's role for 1 more year.
Well, she became administrator. She was one of the best because she understood people. She was able to work with people. She was a people person. Amiable, understanding.
Then in 1967, she followed her true passion and enrolled at the University of San Francisco to pursue a bachelor's degree in sociology. Here she talks with her successor, Sister Gertrude. This photo is believed to have been taken in 1969 at the time of her graduation. She would have been 51. After San Francisco, she went to St. Louis University, where she earned a master's degree in social work. Now it was 1972, and Brigid returned to Bellingham, the truly significant portion of her career and her legacy still ahead of her. She returned to establish the Department of Social Services at St. Joseph's and to serve as its first director. She poured herself and her multitude of talent and character into the job, and in the ensuing years, Brigid carved out a career and a legacy that still resonates in the community.
Women would come in to have their babies and they had nothing. And so she would make sure that they went home with a complete layette and then some and so that's how when I joined the auxiliary, that was one of the things we did every year. We had a baby shower for Sister Brigid's babies.
I remember she would always give out, these free meal tickets to everybody, and it used to just drive me nuts. I'm going, Sister Brigid, how can we afford to give out all this free food? And Steve, she ignored me.
It was obvious to those that knew her well that Brigid had discovered her true vocation. She devoted herself to meeting the spiritual, physical, and emotional needs of patients and the larger community. Her determination was matched only by her joyful personality. Brigid's accomplishments were legion, providing needed clothing and support for impoverished new mothers, collecting funds from those that had to be redistributed to those who had not, serving on the hospital's governing board, consoling the sick, bringing her unique personality to the hospital scene, providing with her sister nuns a unique aura of caring that permeated the culture of St. Joseph's Hospital. So somebody told me that there was a place called Brigid's Closet where
she kept stuff. People who would donate, and probably from the Brigid's Babies group, and if somebody needed something, they could go to Brigid's Closet and it would be there. That's true. That's true.
Brigid was a social worker, and her big concern was children, and her other big concern was the newborn, and how many of the newborns, went home without adequate clothes. And she was always after us to bring her things. So many of us held baby showers for her. And the Catholic Daughters here in Whatcom County, they would hold a baby shower once a year.
She just was always extremely giving and generous and had that reputation, So the nuns were part of the climate of the hospital then. They really had, there was really an emphasis on what was right, to do what was right.
And they cast an aura over the place.
That is correct, for sure. I mean, they were everywhere.
Brigid had a heart as big as the world, and she saved a lot of room in that heart for her family. She made a number of trips back to Ireland to visit her aged parents and to spend time with the family that she loved. Here she is with her sister Noreen, also a nun, and their mother at the old home. Here on another trip with Roberta and two nieces, including Margaret Campbell with the dark hair. Once, Brigid found time for a vacation in Hawaii with all of her sisters, each one a nun. Here are all four of them, the twins Roberta and Sheila on the right, Brigid and Noreen on the left. The year was 1983. Brigid was 65. Brigid truly enjoyed life. She was known for her laughter and sense of joy, and she was even known to enjoy a bit of a drink now and again.
I came out here from Ireland in 1963.